welcome everybody to Mornings with Matt.
MD!
Today we are going to start at the beginning of a 4-day series because my man Brian Sweeney and Joey Sweeney, my men,
Boys! We the boys!
you guys going out of town for a couple days. Joey had this idea that he would call in. I would love that. That'd be super cool. But just in case, I prepared this little 4-day series. So after today, I can run some things solo, Han Solo, that is. I should have said solo. Han Solo, that is. Okay.
Oh, that is a better use of that.
I know,
Yes,
I'm working
yes.
on it.
Yes.
I'm working on it.
There
we
you
go.
go.
You're learning to master it? if you will?
I have to work on that. So I have to do the thing I told Joey to do forever ago, which is work on the sound effects. Because now that I'm running the board here, it's like, okay, I got to know what's what, where things go, and then I got to practice it. So I can just be like, bam, like the no luck. Like, oh, did you see that?
So
That was lucky because I had no idea what I was doing. All right, so this 4-day series is on basically it's on focus. So it's how to feed your focus. And so the first day today,
Day uno.
is going to be on the environment. So the 4-day focus is how to feed your focus. There's 4 ways, and we use the EROS acronym, EROS.
And what does that stand for, man?
Well, that's a great question there, Bri Guy. So why don't I read that off for you? The EROS is going to be environment, rituals, outside forces, and scheduled expectations. Those are the things that you want to work on and control in order to feed your focus. So the first one we're going to talk about is environment. And you guys are going to Colorado, so I thought this was a cool little tie-in.
Colorado.
Cool. Do love Colorado. It's a great place. Especially
the number one place.
on your last trip, y'all went on a rafting trip. Am I right?
Yeah,
we did.
Brian jumped off a cliff with
did.
no fingers and toes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
By the way, so cool.
Thank you.
But I wanted to bring this up when it comes to environment because I wanted you to think about this concept. Okay,
Ooh.
I've been on your rafting trip, your family's rafting trip, and it's unbelievable. By the way,
Unbelievable.
If Uncle Brian's watching, I just want to say thank you for inviting me a couple years ago and how much fun I had and how unbelievable you are and your family because the way you run things is incredible. It really is. So it's like it's beyond any kind of just normal rafting trip. I mean, it feels like the most professional, well put together trip that you would pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for. People do, and you know, we get to do that.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
And he sets that up, you know, and he was like, hey, you can contribute, you know, if you want. I mean, he didn't even say that. Uncle Brad said that. Uncle Brian was cool. But your dad was like, you should contribute. I'm like, cool. Like, ask him what he'd like. He's like, $100. I'm like, what? $100? For what? For what did I get $100? Like, what did I get?
A lot.
Every meal for about 4 days, done, cooked for, silverware, everything. And you watch the
campsite,
way
burners.
you watch the way this campsite is run, and it brings me back to this idea of environment. How are they able to pull it off? We've got 20 people, let's just say, at a campsite. They're staying there for 4 days to 7 days, and somehow they create very little trash. Hardly any trash is created. There's food every day for 7 days. People know how to wash their dish and where to go next, and then all of a sudden it's all the mess from dinner is cleaned up, and then we're on to the next thing. How do you accomplish that?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna start by saying, if Uncle Brian, if you're watching, like Matt said, swing dog.
And if you're not watching, why are you not watching? Because
come
you
on,
should be
man.
watching. but check this idea, right? It's like if things didn't have a place, an exact place, and you knew exactly how much was there, there's no way you could pull this off.
Yep.
Same idea when you're going down the river, right? You like imagine the way that they pack the boat. They spend a couple hours setting the boat for everybody else to make sure that they know if and when anything happens to go wrong, they are ready. They're ready for that emergency moment.
Speaking of which, didn't you pull my cousin Matt back into the boat?
I did, and I gotta say, your cousin Matt, speaking of, his dad is Uncle Brian, so speaking of amazing human beings, your cousin Matt is like superhero on the river.
Absolutely.
So I was like, Superman's in the river, and I was like, I'm a civilian grabbing Superman, pulling him in. It was amazing, like because he's a self-sacrifice kind of guy. So he's leading us down the river, and if anyone's gonna fall in, Matt's gonna take the hit. So he took the hit, to his credit, what did he do? He prepared me. He prepared the whole boat. He said, if this happens, here's exactly what you do. You do this, you go over here, you stay calm, you grab the jacket, you pull them up, you use your weight in this way, you pull from, you lean back. Like, I just was like, okay, directions. And so I listened to the directions. The thing happened. I see Matt, I just do, this is what Matt says to do, this is what I do. So they held me up as some kind of a hero, but really, I mean, Matt's the hero. He was guiding the boat, kept us all in the boat. And if anyone was going to fall in, it was going to be him. That's the way I look at it. And I'm like, dude's amazing.
Yeah.
And he happened to be on my side of the boat, which was very cool for me because I got to pull him up. Like, I got to be the guy that's like pulled him in. I'm like, wow, I feel really good.
Well, and he still talks about that. He did it on this last trip. He was like, where's Matt? And I was like, he's still dealing with this D. And then he was like, well, Matt's the only one who's pulled me back into the boat. So Matt can be on my boat any day.
All right, Matt, I love you and thank you. That's amazing. I'm gonna take you up on that offer. Let's just put it in the books right now. My knee's gonna be better by next summer.
Done.
And I'm gonna accept this invitation.
Heck yeah.
So we go back to the Eros. The number one is our environment. So if we want to treat our space as we would a camping trip all the time. And I know this was interesting, Brian, because we went over this together, and I don't know if one of my examples from the book ended up hitting you, because I feel like it did, because you had this like mind shift recently. It's been something where I honestly wouldn't even call you a slob in any way. Like
I would.
You're
call
not like
me
a dirty guy.
No.
Would you? I don't know. I mean,
I'm not a slob, but
not crazy, but just not like aware of leaving your stuff around. So you'd leave things here and there, and then it adds up is the thing.
Yeah, the way I'd put it, I would put my ADHD into the environment versus like having control of it. So it's like you set with that, your mind, if you think of ADHD, it's like you're on something, boom, let's squirrel, right?
Right.
So I set something down and then I go to do something and then that thing's gone forever in my mind.
So it's like EADHD.
Yeah. And so, you leave something and then, and honestly, you start doing it and I didn't really understand the importance of it.
The
so
why. You didn't get the why.
Right.
Which is my fail, because I obviously didn't explain the why well enough. I just nagged on you. I was like the nagging wife, the dripping faucet, just being like, pick up your stuff, Brian, pick up your stuff, Brian, pick up your stuff.
Like,
And so if I don't explain the why well enough, that's on me. Now, if you do understand the why and then you do it anyway, that's on you. But now you get the why. So what hit you?
When you gave this last example, specifically about the art show, and we sat down and sort of you were talking about that, and that's from the book, right?
Yeah. So here's the idea. I'll preface this. So if we're in an art museum, think about what they do. The successful art museums, they create an environment for you to move from idea to idea, be able to focus on things, one thing, next thing, effortlessly. And they do that with thousands of people coming in and out of the art museum. How do they do it? Extreme minimalism. There's hardly any furniture, like maybe one little slight bench in the middle of the hallway or something, but there's no furniture. There's only the art on the wall. There's very focused lighting, very focused music, purposeful music per room. The art museum is created in such a way that is very specifically designed to help you focus. And therefore, people respect it. So you come in and out of a room and people are quiet. You could acknowledge somebody, but really it's like, I understand you're in your space having some kind of an experience, so I'm not going to disrupt that. So what I did was I juxtaposed that idea with, imagine this art museum. You walk in and there's chaotic music, just all kinds of various music everywhere. There's things are not put up very purposefully. There's no lighting on the walls. There are people talking. There's like someone talking on the cell phone, and you're trying to like focus on a piece of art, and there's several people having different conversations right in front of you. And imagine the staff leaving their stuff out. Like if staff just left their coffee cup and like somebody else left their backpack and this and that, and it's just out, how are you, as the customer of that art gallery, supposed to focus on the art? Like, you can't. You're like, it's disrespectful, right? So we don't see our own spaces sometimes like that. Mm-hmm. And then if you flip your mind and go, oh, I want to help my coworkers focus. I want to help our customers focus and really engage when they're at our space. And my backpack doesn't help.
Yeah.
Right? My coffee cup doesn't help like that. So that was the analogy essentially. So go ahead, back to you.
Yeah. So that obviously we're a studio as well. And so the word that hit me the most inside of that was the experience, like this idea of an experience. And I thought through like Disneyland and like all these places kind of hit me at once in a second. And I realized like, okay, you want to create that here. Like I wanted to feel that way here. And the little things, and there was just this like flashback moment to all the little things adding up.
Can I ask you really quick, why? Why do you want it to feel like that here?
Because I care.
There you go.
Yeah.
Care about what?
Care about the people. I care about them coming in and feeling what we want them to feel and experiencing what we want them to experience.
Yeah.
To hit our mission. And there was this realization that's not just in the teaching, that's in everything. That's in like everything affects you. Your environment affects you. The teaching affects you, like all of it. And so that's why like I can feel a difference if we were running behind and the music isn't playing in the lobby.
Right.
Like it's silent, and that's a different feel. It's a different energy. And so there may be a time when it's supposed to be silent, and there's a reason for that, and it's specific, but that it does something to you. Mm-hmm. And so there was this just kind of realization that like even my teacher desk, like the things that are on it say something about me, and they're going to affect everyone's opinion of me and of the room and the space and what we do.
Yeah.
And
because you are the representative of us in that moment. So you do represent Joey, you represent me, you represent the entire space, and you represent the history of our studio.
Absolutely.
And someone first walks in and you're their first teacher that they have, let's just say, your desk matters, really does, right?
Absolutely. And then beyond that, there was this other one, because it's as we started to figure this out, of like leaving the little things at the end, and that's the doing the really hard stuff to make it easy, right? So like sometimes I'd leave like the notebook knowing that the next day, technically, that's going to be right there, right? Like that's going to be on that desk at that point. But there's something that I found that's really, really nice actually about clearing it, about it just being totally clear. And then tomorrow is like, it made me feel like a new day. Like this is a new day. I know where this goes, but like this is a new class and a new day, and it's not yesterday's class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is like you guys are talking about, you notice it now, right? So last night you came out to the desk and I was sitting there, and up on the top of the desk, because the way our desk is set up is there's like the top wood, and then below it is where we sit. But there's like the
top is a countertop where people can
countertop.
stand on the other side, and then you sit down.
Yeah, exactly. And so you came over and you look, and before you even talked to me, you came over to talk to me, and you look and you go, oh, there's my notebook, and it was sitting on top there. But you had your other one set next to it, and you go, well, at least I'm consistent. And
like making fun of himself.
Yeah, making fun of himself. It made me laugh so hard because, but it acknowledged like, hey, I left this thing here, my bad. In a very uplifting, kind, no big deal way. And having that interaction, I was like, dang, that's really cool. Good for you, Bri. Good for you, man.
Thanks, buddy.
And it literally, like, not only was it a cool moment where I saw the growth, but it was also like you turned it into something funny that stuck with me the rest of the night, which was, well, at least I'm consistent.
That's awesome.
Well, you know what's interesting is I just had this kind of like moment in my brain. I sort of mentored you early on, Bri. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I hadn't woken up yet. So I did the best I could, and I'm not saying I did a bad job. You turned out all right, I think.
I think so.
But Joey got the benefit of getting my mentorship post.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I did
You
do
did,
that
yeah.
thing.
So from day one, he's heard me harping on the way, like not just wind the chords, but how you wind the chords and where things go and why they go there. So what's interesting is, I don't know that Joey was always neat. You might have been, but now he's definitely more neat than he's ever been. And the things that bother me bother him because I mentored him in this new space.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mentored you in a different space, and you're like, well, like, who are you, man? Like, you've never worried about that kind of stuff, and now you're worrying about it. So it's much harder to have that sort of flip.
Yeah.
Because you know the way things used to be. It worked. It was fine. We're still alive. Like, we functioned, but it wasn't best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a big part of what hit me this time was I had to sit and just take responsibility from my end and not look at the past. So I think a piece of me, honestly, when we do this, goes like, all right, we're doing this again. Cool.
Yeah.
Fun. Like,
What do you mean doing this? What's
doing
this?
the clean. We're gonna make everything super organized. We're gonna clean out the closet. See you in 3 months when it's not that way
Cleaning out
again.
my closet.
I think there was a piece of me that saw it that way because that's what we have done consistently in the past. It's been like we do this big major clean, and then in 3 months or so, it's all going to be chaotic again, and we're going to have to do it again. And it can be hard to get on board with that. And so in this moment, I realized, well, going back to, and this goes back to the lessons before that on accountability, realizing like, okay, well, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Mine. It's just as much my fault. And so I don't want to have to do this again. I don't want to. There's something to organizing, and we'll do it probably every time after Valleywood because we bring everything in and do this stuff. But there's a way to do it so that it's not so taxing and not so much of a like, let me just do that again versus like this last time you were so precise more than ever. Like, and now we can go, all right, let's maintain this. And then when we go to organize or do something again, it's to just advance what we're already doing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how it hit me, but it kind of just hit me in that way. Like, hey, take responsibility here yourself. It doesn't have to be that way. And it's as much on you as it is on anybody.
I think maybe it hit you when Matt shut the closet door and locked you in there for 10 minutes.
That might have been it. That might have been the moment.
And he said, Brian, I'm going to ask you very kindly. I want you to go in the closet for 10 minutes, and I want you to look around, play in all the drawers, memorize where everything's at, get everything in your brain so that it doesn't become something where you don't know where things are, and then it gets cluttery because you're like, well, I don't know where that is. I'm going to put it here.
And again, you know what? That's a growth in leadership because I didn't do that before. And think about it. Yeah, thank you, Joey.
Yeah.
That's a dub.
So if you think about this idea of why would I do that? Well, it's like I want to empower you. I want you on my team. I don't want you dependent upon me.
Yeah.
That's not helpful. So it'd be like Joey teaching us how to offload the show so that we are not dependent upon him. And yes, he might do the job most of the time, but we're not dependent. And he'd rather us know so that we're wise. And you know what? He did that with you.
I was about to say, literally this week we had Brian set up the camera for commercial class with the TV and everything, and not for the point of, hey, Brian, this is your job now, but more just like in an emergency situation or in something, and I don't happen to be there, hey, you're empowered with the knowledge. You know how to do this. It doesn't have to be a stressful thing for you anymore.
And then guess what? The sound wasn't perfect. It was kind of screwed up. Well, good, fine. Now you learn that lesson. You don't and you don't go, well, that's why I don't set it up.
Right. Yeah.
Because that doesn't work. You
Which
go,
is good for you, because that would have been your reaction before, honestly.
So now,
I got that reaction a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Coming up to this point and sort of talking into your leadership, like I didn't have the leadership to be like, oh yeah, well that's not a good attitude, Brian, like call him out right away. So it turned into something where I was like, cool, well, I'm just gonna always do it and be responsible for it, and
I'll bottle up all my emotions, and I'll be very angry, but I won't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's nice that we're sort of evolving in that way.
Well, then if I can flip the script here on this, then the same idea, because you learned it, took accountability for it, just the other day, we also had an issue with the morning show when Joey wasn't here. And you were able to take the drive, put it on the computer, re-edit the entire show, bring in the sound, find it from someplace else because one of the my microphone wasn't going live, and get it up within like 15 minutes. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But that's because you empowered yourself. You took accountability, and then now you have the knowledge, and you're like, yeah, well, I mean, I could do it.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
I got in that day, and I was like, you did what?
What?
I was like, time out. And I was like, that is cool because it's not easy. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people look and they're like, oh, that's easy, you know. But and yes, a lot of what I do is pressing a button. That's not wrong. But you press the wrong button or something's not hooked up right, nothing works, and then
you have
stuck.
to set it up in such a way systematically that when you press the button, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a math equation, and you have to know what's going where and why. And so when I got in that day, I was like, you did what? And I bought him lunch because I was like, that's baller, dude. Like, that's so cool. And I told him on the spot, I was like, you do not give yourself enough credit. I was like, if you can do that, that's not an easy task. I do it every day. Like, you're not giving yourself enough credit. You know more than you think you do. And that was a cool moment too, because it was like the recognition of, hey man, honestly, I feel like you're selling yourself short here. Because if you're able to do that, that's not a simple task. That's not mundane.
Right.
So that's something that you can say, yeah, I do have a basic knowledge on how to do that. And I can be a backup, and I can do this because I worked for it for the longest time. He was the original editor at the studio.
Brian's the fastest editor still to this day. He was very, very fast. He was like he you know, I think he adopted my old mindset with laziness and used it to our advantage, which was like, how do I find every shortcut I can possibly find? And I would watch him edit, and he'd be like, you know. And I mean, we didn't have all the stuff we have now. So when you look at what he was able to accomplish back then with the technology that we had and the speed, I mean, it was like, it's incredible what you were able to do. So
Thanks, man. Well, it goes right back to what you were teaching on. At that point, it was about organizing it. In the editing world especially. And that was recently the thing that I was trying to like show Joey and teach him a little bit was like the labeling and the preciseness of that will save you so much, because like then you know, just like your environment here, like you know exactly where something is. You know, you want to pull a blooper, it's this color, and you know something's a bad take, you don't even have to look at it because it's this color, and like it's all just hyper organized inside of this space, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. And then inside of that, I go, okay, how can I love the way you always say this, how can I, like, as a lazy person here, figure out how to make it easier for me?
yeah,
right? And so I remember when I was first starting, one of the first things I did after I started learning this, I was like, this takes so long. Is I just looked it up, and there's shortcuts for everything.
Hotkeys.
And so I would start studying all the shortcuts so that I could make it easier. You know, and it started by one little thing. You came in and taught me the blade inside of the edit. And I was like, oh, you can blade it all at once? That's so sick. And then I was like, there must be more. And that's when it got me all excited to figure out more systems.
All right.
I want to bring you guys back to a funny story, but go ahead, Joey.
What I was just going to say, when we were editing Valleywood.
Oh, yes.
So the sound comes in, and it's like 14 channels from the Rodecaster. But only 4 of them have mics. So it's like, but you have to bring in all 14, even though the other ones are empty. So it's so funny because every time I go to edit a Rodecaster file, I'm like, really? Because I have to like unlink them, then delete all the empty files, and then figure out which mic is talking so that I can go through and edit. And we're going through Valleywood, and that's a grind, man. That's like quick. You don't have any time for mistakes. You just go for those 5 days. And so I'm sitting there, and it's day 5 before the premiere. It's like 3 a.m. and I'm like cutting, and Matt gets there, and he's like, yo, did you know you could do this? And he like shift keys with the blade, and it like cuts them all at once. And I'm like, You're telling me this now? What? I was like so mad because I was like, this is amazing. You're awesome. But what the heck, man? You knew this? And he was like, nah, I learned it today. And I was like, cool. All right. At least you weren't withholding the knowledge from me because I would have been really sad.
But let me tell you, I learned it that day because I was editing and I knew it could be done actually. So it's not like I watched you and realized it was taking you a long time. It was like I learned it that day because I knew it was possible. But here's the key, and I know you know this actually. Brian told you that. Mm-hmm. He told you that weeks earlier. And you were in a place in that day, in that moment, I don't know, where you were not listening to the room. You were not down and into the room. And so you didn't want to hear how can I get better in that moment, not from Brian, not on that day. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But he had given you that exact piece of knowledge. And I didn't want to throw that at you that day.
Right,
I'm like, we're in the middle of Valleywood.
Brian told you that, bro.
We don't need to fight right now.
Yeah.
But isn't that crazy too?
Yeah,
Just
I
the
had
idea.
no idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
Totally, like, this is the first time I'm hearing about that. So
Yeah.
clearly I wasn't listening.
Well, it was funny because that was actually, I think it was even a few months before. So what had happened was I came up and watched him do it, just like probably what you saw for Valleywood. And it was like, there's a way to just cut it all at once. And you're like, nah. And I was like,
And then he did it. You saw it, and you were like, yeah. But you sort of dismissed it. It was an interesting thing. And I happened to just be around. I overheard it, truthfully. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I didn't think much about it. So then I represented it as new information because I knew it was going to be new information for you.
That's awesome.
That's
so
funny.
smart.
Okay, so we're going to need to wrap the show here soon. I'd like to end with an exercise. Before we do, I'm going to say one more thing
not
because
like a freestyle rap.
yeah. So Joey, you're quite the cook, I'd say. We do enjoy eating your food around this place.
Big time. Big time.
It's slightly above average. You know?
So the last example I want to give you for the importance of cleaning your environment, because we get this a lot. Well, my job is chaotic. Well, my job's messy. Well, my job is this, and you go, okay. Well, let's talk about some of the best chefs. It's fun to make a mess in the kitchen, and some of the best chefs make a big mess in the kitchen in order to create something that's like really good. And it's like, shapow, I'm gonna throw this in there, and right? Okay, so take that, and then you're a chef, and go, okay. But how do you want to start? You have to start with that clean countertop.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
It's got to be fresh. If it and sometimes you don't, but if you don't have a clean countertop and you start to cook, you're cooking with this much space, with all this clutter on the outside, and you're trying to keep everything clean, and you don't do your best.
Yeah.
100%. You sort of make mistakes, or you kind of like, well, I guess we don't need that today, and you just shortcut stuff because you don't have the clean environment to begin with. So if you think about your whatever your day is, you want to start fresh, like you said with the desk. Start with that clean slate. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. And I say, like, especially recently, like, I pretty much cook every day for the team or for me or whatever, but most of the time I cook for everyone. And it's interesting because obviously Brian and I are in our own apartment. It's really nice. Feels like home. It's cool. Very spacious for a two-person apartment. And we don't have a lot of dishes, like silverware, pans, pots, whatever.
Sure.
And so I find myself every day before I go to cook is I think of what I'm going to cook. I look for the ingredients, make sure we have it all. And then before I do anything, I check the dishwasher and I check the dish or the sink. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to wash first? Even though, like, even if it's already washed, sometimes I still just wash it because I'm like, I need this, and I need it in the best state, and this is the pan I always use. So
imagine that idea, though, right? So this comes back to finishing strong. So you're done eating. It's now time to wash the dish, put it away, do it properly so that when you go to start to cook, you don't have to do that process.
Yeah.
And you know where everything is and should be. So then it goes, okay, I know I'm going to need a bowl. Boom, here it is. I know I'm going to need this. Boom, here it is. And there shouldn't ever be anything in the sink or the dishwasher.
Well, and it's interesting because, like, we have our moments, but Brian is like a sidekick in the kitchen, really. He does a lot of the after work or the before work of, like, putting things where they belong. So it's interesting because a lot of the silverware and bowls and plates and whatnot, they all came from Brian, because he had a home before, and this was my first place. So I sort of just let him like move his stuff in, and then have learned like, oh cool, this is where our plates are gonna go, and this is where our bowls are gonna go, and my spatula's over here.
And you're like, oh, you have a colander, that's great.
Hey. Yeah. And he's like, what's that?
Yep.
But it's interesting, and it's really nice because he does take care of a lot of that. So like I'll come home right after I cook for you guys, and I'm like, oh, my pan's clean.
Yeah.
What? Brian's the man. He cleaned the pan.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, so here's your exercise for today, day 1 of this 4-day series on focus, how to feed your focus. So day 1 exercise is on environment, on decluttering your space. So it goes like this. I want you to ask yourself these questions. If I look at my environment, I look up and I see what is in my scope of vision. The question is, do I need what I see? Do I need it? And if I do need it, do I need it 100% of the time? So for instance, if I'm sitting at a desk and my task is to write, to type, well, I might need my computer 100% of the time. I might need my keyboard 100% of the time. Okay, what else is there that I can see in my vision, and do I need it 100% of the time? If the answer is no, then you can make a decision. I'm either going to hide it or I'm going to discard it. I'm going to hide the thing if I really don't need it at all to do this. I'm sorry, I'm going to hide it if I know I'm going to need it at some point, but just not right now. So let's say I'm typing, but I know I'm going to need to staple something later. I don't need the stapler in my field of vision, but I need it hidden someplace close by that I know where it is and I can use it soon. If I know I'm not going to use it to do this task, I need to get rid of it. And it either belongs in a different environment or it doesn't belong with me. Okay, so if it's in that get rid of it pile, then you have to ask yourself, okay, then it either serves one of two purposes. Either it doesn't serve a purpose, or number 2, it inspires me. So it's okay to have something in your field of vision if it inspires you and doesn't distract you. So for instance, I might have a picture of my kids or something, or my wife within my field of vision, even though it's not exactly the task. Maybe this is my why. This is why I care so much about doing the task. This inspires me and makes me want to keep doing my task. Great, I can handle that. So this is your exercise, is to look in your field of vision, and this goes for every aspect of your life, every environment that you spend time in that you want to be successful in. So I know there's a lot of you moms and dads out there that are homeschooling for the first time. We've been doing this for a long time now, many years. Think of this in your homeschool space. Think of that environment. If you're in the kitchen or you're at work, wherever you are, you're in the classroom. Look at what you see, and do I need it? Do I need it 100% of the time? And do I need it all? Does it inspire me? Does it inspire the people around me? Is it a distraction or is it an inspiration? And then you're gonna make a decision. I'm either gonna keep it, I'm gonna hide it, or I'm gonna discard it. And just remember that your space, your field of vision, every time you get distracted, is gonna cost you time and energy. So in order to save your time and energy, protect yourself by creating an environment for success. All right, that is our exercise. This was day 1 of our 4-day series on how to feed your focus. Today's day 1, which is your environment, or decluttering your space. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This has been Mornings with Matt. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Help us to spread this light-driven content to the planet.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.